This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Hello everyone, welcome to today's live streaming. Now we're streaming today from Singapore's Jurong Island. It is an island in the southwest part of Singapore, and this is the hub of Singapore's petrochemicals industry. It is a very rare opportunity because all the staff and visitors have to go through stringent security check to come to this strategic island, and we also have to go through a lot of getting permits, getting our equipment checked, and to come here. Now there are a lot of giant emitters here, like BP, like ExxonMobil. But today we're actually visiting Tembusu Multi-Utilities Complex, which is managed by Tuas Power, and their parent company is China's energy giant, Huaneng Power International. Now, TMUC is Singapore's first and only coal plant. It's very unique because when you talk about coal plant, you often associate it with dust, with a dirty environment. But just a few hours, I've been here a few hours, I actually haven't seen any coal. And we want to have a tour of this unique multi-utilities plant. And we're joined today by Tan Chek Jiang, who is a veteran. You're founding members of this plant. You're the VP of Utilities at the Tuas Energy Utilities. Yes. So can you give us a tour and tell us, show us the unique characteristics of this multi-utilities plant, please?
Sure. Maybe let me walk you through this plant, and then along the way I can show you some interesting features of these facilities.
Excellent. Yeah. So my understanding is Huaneng acquired Tuas Power back in 2008.
Yes. Yeah. TMUC is owned by TP Utilities Private Limited, and we are a subsidiary of Tuas Power Limited. Yeah. And Tuas Power Limited was acquired by China Huaneng Power International back in 2008.
At that point, the price tag was 2 billion Singapore dollars, right?
Yes. Correct.
And it was at that point the largest overseas investment for a Chinese power company.
That is correct. Yeah. Yes.
So this plant was actually built after the acquisition.
Yes, correct. So this is the first coal-fired power plant in Singapore. Also coal-fired with biomass. So the main feature or characteristic of this plant is this CFB boiler, circulating fluidized bed boiler. The unique features of this CFB boiler is that we actually coal-fired a high percentage of biomass with coal in order to reduce the carbon emission of the plant. Then
the biomass composition at the moment is up to 20%, you've mentioned.
Yes, correct. So why we coal-fired with 20% biomass is to bring down the carbon footprint equivalent to an oil-fired power plant.
We're now looking at the chimney, right?
Yes.
And you can't really see any smoke coming from it.
Correct. So this CFB boiler, we actually installed this highly efficient back filter to capture any particulate matter. So at the chimney discharge, you won't be able to see any dust or smoke. Then at the same time, relating to these environmental embedment features, this CFB boiler with a low firing temperature will also ensure that the NOx emission at the stack is controlled within the regulatory limits. Yeah. And another feature that we have put in place for this project is that the coal that we adopt for the production, the steam production, is a low sulfur coal.
Low sulfur coal.
Yes.
So it's cleaner in a sense.
Yes. Then in front of us is a ash silo. So after the combustion of the coal and the biomass, the ash produced we keep in this silo. So periodically, our partner will come over to collect the ash, process it, and make it into useful, sustainable construction material.
Industrial.
So basically, the ash produced from this plant is 100% fully recycled. Yes.
CJ, I want to talk about the more other recycle initiatives in this plant. My understanding is your biggest product is actually steam, right? And
Yes.
then you provide the steam to industrial partners. They reside in this area of Jurong
Yes.
Island. But at the same time, a lot of your byproducts are also being used and recycled. You're a self-sustaining plant.
Yes. Our core product is steam. Then byproduct is actually the power that produced from the steam turbine generator. So this electricity produced from this generator, we will use it for plant internal consumption. Then the excess, we will sell it to the pool.
National
Yes.
So just now we drove by 2 boilers,
Yes.
and this is an empty area. You said it's for future development if
Correct.
necessary.
So this project is developed in phases. So we have completed our stage 1 and stage 2A development back in March 2013 and June 2014. So as long as the customer, if let's say in future the demands pick up, we will further develop this complex. Yeah.
What's the capacity now?
So currently our steam capacity that we are able to supply to customer is about 500 ton per hour. Yeah.
The 500 ton per hour. That's for one.
For 2 boilers.
For 2 boilers.
Yes, correct. So on the right side, we also have 3 backup boilers, which is using natural gas as a main fuel, but also can be backed up by diesel oil. Yeah. So in TMUC, we actually adopt a multi-fuel strategy to ensure energy security. And,
So when one type of fuel is down or in short supply globally, you have the other one.
yes, and backup boiler will come into operation when we shut down the CAB boiler for annual maintenance.
How long
to
is the
ensure a
maintenance
reliable
time?
steam supply to customer. Currently, for the minor shutdown, it's about 18 days. The major shutdown will last about 24 days.
Okay. I can actually smell some biomass
Yes.
products. So
Just
we are
now-
driving by the
Yes.
biomass. Okay, we can see actually the door is open.
Yes. So just now we mentioned we also we burn biomass together with coal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a biomass house where we store all our biomass, incoming biomass. And the biomass that we use, there are 2 types. One is palm kernel shell, PKS in short. The other one is a wood chip, which we source it locally. Yeah.
Both are recycled products, right? The palm oil is the kind of byproduct from the palm oil
Palm
industry.
kernel shell is the empty shell that left over after the factory have extract the palm oil. And for the wood chips is mainly comprises of horticulture wood and also some recycled wood.
Right.
And for the PKS, we actually brought in from overseas through vessel. And then for the wood chip, is delivered to our station through those truck, tanker truck.
Being Singapore's only coal plant, you told me earlier that you had to go through a lot of regulatory measures with the National Environment Agency here.
Yes, since this is a coal plant, our Singapore authority actually imposed a very stringent emission control and environmental control on this plant. So one of the main features that we have incorporated during the design of this plant are the covered conveyor and also the covered unloader, which we install.
Which we can see now, right?
Yes, correct.
Let's hop off and take a look.
So maybe we can come down and take a look at the operations.
Yes, excellent.
So currently we are unloading coal from the vessel. Over here, maybe you have a better glimpse of the operation. So in front of us, we have two covered screw unloader. So we use this screw unloader to unload the coal from the vessel and then transfer it onto the conveyor.
Right.
Yeah.
And they are all covered passages.
Yes, correct. So with a covered conveyor, actually we reduce fugitive dust and reduce the impact to the environment. Yeah.
And here we can see the coal silo. And you mentioned that the color differentiation of your...
Correct. So if from the covered conveyor, the coal will be delivered or transferred to the respective coal silo. So we have 3 coal silos, and it's differentiated through their colors. So the blue colors is a coal conveyor, and the light green color is the biomass conveyor. So even come to the storage of all these fuel are all kept in-house, indoor, and also inside an enclosed silo.
So as Singapore move on to reduce more emissions and stuff, what is the outlook and vision for this coal plant?
So for TMUC, our objective is to ensure a reliable utility supply to our customer at competitive price. Then at the same time, we also adopt so what we are doing now is that we will try to reduce all these emission through energy improvement project initiative, and also we also trying putting a lot of effort to increase the use of biomass to reduce carbon emission. Yeah.
Now, Singapore as a nation is working very hard to reduce emissions in the power sector. The Singapore power sector contributes 40% of the country's emission in total. And I want to mention that Singapore, the energy policy, we have you can summarize it in 4 switches, right? So for our audience who may not know, this is a very rare plant. In fact, 95% of energy here in Singapore is generated by natural gas, which is a cleaner form of fossil fuel. And the other 3 switches, they're talking about solar power, which your plant is also looking into that solution. Singapore as a nation is pushing aggressively to create a solar power capacity. And the third one is regional power grid. So we can tap onto offshore overseas markets to import low carbon powers. And the fourth one is to find alternative energies. Your plant is using biomass, for example. I want to end today's live streaming with the 5th switch, which is the energy efficiency. So while the government is working so hard on these 4 supply side of the things, we as general public and as consumer must use energy more consciously. We know in Singapore we're in a tropical country, but we want to be international, we want to be productive. So the consumption on air conditioning, for example, where you know we live here in the mall, in the bus, in the conference call, they blast the air con, it gets very, very cold. So I want to mention that 5th switch, which is consumer awareness. Speaking of air conditioning, our colleague, China colleague Huang Fei is actually standing by in Guangdong, and she is visiting air conditioner manufacturer Midea, one of the big manufacturers. She's going to speak to the head of research there to find out how they're trying to produce more energy efficient air conditioners. Back to you.
Well, thank you, Myro, for showing us such an important energy plant in Singapore. If you're just tuning in, you're watching a CGTN live stream. I'm Huang Fei. And talking about energy consumption, both Singapore and South China, in fact, actually consume a lot of energy just to stay cool because the weather is pretty hot all year round, and air conditioners play a really big role in that. According to the World Economic Forum, by the end of the century, carbon emissions from air conditioners alone could push the Earth's temperature up half a degree Celsius. That's a big deal, in the context of global warming. So the question that concerns a lot of us, both in Singapore and here in China, is, well, how do we save energy from air conditioning units or ACs? So today, to talk about that, I have a very important guest, and he is Mr. Li Jingbo. He is actually head of air conditioning research at the Midea Group, and he's also a National People's Congress deputy. 李金波主任您好，
你好，
谢谢您参加我们的这个直播。我们现在跟前啊，就是有两个就是相当于是打开状态的这个空调，给我们介绍一下。
So when we look at the components inside the air conditioner, in order to produce in the first place those air conditioners, there's a certain amount of carbon emission. For example, for the metal, the copper and aluminum, as well as the iron, etc., for the production of those raw materials, and also the tailoring of these, they will represent about 8 to 9% of the emission. And 90% of the carbon emissions would be involved during that process of utilization and also recycling of the air conditioners. And electricity fees would represent about 80% of the total. When we look at this model, you can find a lot of copper parts. How much copper do we have in one unit? This is the part put outdoor, and this is the exchanger. For 1 unit of power, there is 8 kilo of pieces. And for the aluminum, we have implied about 1 kilo. For the exploitation of these raw materials, we have already started the calculation of the carbon footprint. Yes, of course, for the calculation, we have to start to incorporate the mining and also the refinery, as well as the manufacturing and installation inside a household. And finally, towards the end of the life cycle of the product, that means during this utilization in the daily life and until the final retirement of this product. And there's another model here, another standing model we put inside our house. Usually it will be used in a relatively larger surface, for example, for a room of 20 to up to 40 square meters, and that one hung on the wall, it's used usually in the bedrooms. It's a rare opportunity for us to know exactly the internal components of these machineries. And in order to improve the energy efficiency and also the consumption of the electricity of these air conditioners, we also have to upgrade all those components. This is already not the latest generation. It's also a challenge for us to find new ways to increase the total energy efficiency. And there is also the wind tunnel and also the electricity control panel. Inside there's also the heating exchange system. For the whole parts, we have to do a comprehensive upgrading in order to improve the energy efficiency and reduce the emissions. And usually when we can have a greater improvement with the components, we can expect to see 30% of increase of efficiency. And this is the older one, the first product of the company created in 1985, the very first Midea air conditioner. Dating back then, we were attaching the air conditioners to the windows. We are also one of the very first manufacturers for the air conditioners. Back then, we can still read the footprints of the designs, totally different from today's. technology. Until today, for this model of product, you can still find the similar ones in North America and the other places in the world, but it's almost disappearing in China. We have almost abandoned this generation. There are a lot of disadvantages with this model. For example, it's too much noise created. And this one is used indoor. It's very quiet during the utilization. This is all one part of the dual set. And for the inverter air conditioner, what does it mean? It means the compressor of air, the turning rate, can be adapted to the real demand of our consumers. For the traditional ones, they have the set turning ratio according to the power of the electricity or to the pre-installed conditions of the air conditioners. And today, for this inverters, they can offer more than 3 options for our consumers. And for our range of products, they can enjoy a wide range of options for customers to choose from. So it also means that it can save a lot of energy. Do you have an exact number about the savings of electricity? More than 30% compared to the old models. And today, for 99% of the products available in the market, they're all offering this multiple choices for the efficiency. And this is also a movable one. According to a temporary use of our consumers, it can be moved to some place, for example, inside one business building. If you have extra work to complete after normal working hours and the central air conditioning system has been shut down, then you can put this one into use. Is it a popular one still in the market? It's partly sold in the Chinese market, but the majority of these models now are more popular in the foreign market. Before stepping into the future generations, first of all, I'd like to draw your attention to this very cute IP, the polar bear. During the first stage of our manufacturing of the air conditioners, we call it the machine of the cold air. So we have selected this image of the polar bear to give this immediate feeling of this cold and fresh. I know that in China's Hong Kong, SAR, and China's Taiwan region, they still call this air conditioners the machine of the cold air. So if we use this very cute image of the polar bear to represent our product immediately, people can make that link between the product. And today there's another important significance behind this image, behind our mascot, because we have to reduce as much as possible the emissions of the CO2 in order to protect the icebergs and also more generally the environment and to curb the melting down of the icebergs and protect the environment of habitat for those polar bears to live in. Now I'd like to continue our journey, and we continue our discussion about the low carbon and green product, to which level you have already reached in your development. And now we have entered into an exhibition hall for our products. Because our country has already proposed the 2 carbon goals, and you are a great expert of the technologies related to the manufacturing and R&D for air conditioners. Do you have confidence that our country can reach those 2 goals? Of course, I believe we can make it in the end. And we also have this responsibilities on our shoulders. And I believe that today the world in its all has already reached a consensus about the importance to reduce the carbon emissions. And in September 2020, President Xi has also made the pledges to the rest of the world on behalf of our country about the cutting emissions. And for our company, we're also doing relentless efforts in order to keep up with this trend and contribute our part to the realization of the two carbon goals, the carbon neutrality and the carbon peaking. And now in front of us, there are several different models and products. So could you please give us more details about them? Just now we have witnessed some cubes. Those are more like last generation, the previous generation of products. And now we have the latest generation of air conditioners. They are in a column shape. They can take up less space and they will produce even less noises. And during its operation, they can showcase a very high level of efficiency. So today when we talk about the emissions cut and also energy saving, how can we achieve this goal? First of all, for the materials involved, it should be environmentally friendly. And during the operation and utilization of this machine, you should have a very highly efficient cooling system inside. And also, the cooling agents should also be very friendly to the environment. So for all those latest models, you have incorporated all those highlights you have just mentioned. Yes, of course. In our air conditioners, for example, for that cooling agent, if we put a single unit of that cooling agent, that would be an equivalent of a huge number of the units of the carbon dioxide. So today we are developing a new generation of the cooling agent. For example, the number 2290. So that ratio has been brought down to 1 versus 3. A very huge progress we have realized. And it's also being supported by the Ministry of Environmental Protection. Another highlight with our latest product, I'd like to give you a demonstration. So it's not connected to the power grid, so we cannot activate it yet. This is also another standing model. Inside, we can find a lot of channels. And for the ventilation, you can see there's a channel in the middle and also other surrounding corridors. It will give the ventilation from different directions, and finally it can make the breezes really comfortable. And this is also the most efficient product we provide currently. And when we talk about this high efficiency of electricity use, it will help us to lower significantly the fees we pay to the power company. And apart from all the advantages we just mentioned, the filters can be washed directly by water. And there is also a very clever design of this outlets for the wind. And we have second round of redistribution of different directions of the wind, so you will not feel a very heavy and strong direct blow of the cold wind on your skin, it can be much more comfortable compared to the previous models. And there's also this fresh wind system to ensure that indoor air is always at the highest quality. It can facilitate exchange of air indoor and outdoor. It's also controlled by voice. You can just give a vocal order to your machine, and then you can readjust the temperature just by giving this order. And there's also a very smart system inside. For example, you say, it feels so hot, and immediately this air conditioner would help to lower the temperature of the breeze, or vice versa. For the heating system, when you say that word, this machine will try to understand your message and also provide you with a solution. But first of all, you have to wake the machine up. So you have to call Xiaomei in order to wake the machine. In the past, for the previous models, every time when you want to give an order, you have to call the machine again. So you always have to start a sentence with the name of this machine, Xiaomei. But this time, since we have further upgraded the machine, with only one calling of the name of the machine, you can give several orders already. And these are also portable machineries, and you can take it wherever you want. And it has also a modernized design. For example, you can put it in the kitchen or somewhere else in the house. And imagine you take this one with you home. You can change the coating of this air conditioner. So already we have solved this problem of monotone look. You can also choose different colors for this coating. That is very interesting. And there's also a highlight spot to attract the attention of the younger generation. Usually, how long is the life cycle of one air conditioner? So it's about 1 decade since the day of first installation. There are also criteria coming from the national level. You have to consider the aging problem of the air conditioner. All the components, they will have this aging problem. And towards the end of this 10-year life cycle, the efficiency of the energy will also be decreasing. So that's the time for you to change for a new model. These are new models too. They can not only help to readjust the temperature indoors, but also to refresh the air and improve the quality. And also there's a humidifier inside. And the precision of temperature control is also very high. Each time when you use the remote controller, you can lower or increase the temperature by 0.5 degrees Celsius. And there are also other features for this. We believe today's model has become healthier. We have the standing model and also the ones to be attached to the wall. Looks like a loudspeaker. This is also a very popular one among our users. I also have a question about the sales, because I know that it's a Red Sea market. There are lots of competitors for you. And the Chinese air conditioners, they are very popular in the world market. And we're also a very big manufacturer of the air conditioner. 80% of the world's air conditioners are produced in China. China is at the same time a major manufacturer and user of air conditioners. And why is that 80%? First of all, we have a very complete production and manufacturing chain in the country. And secondly, we also have a lot of value added to our product. We have the preferential policies from the national government. All the companies in our country, they have devoted so much money into R&D. And besides, we have also perfectly met the requirements of our users. Where are the major markets of our products in the world? When we look at international markets, first of all, we look at the major manufacturers. The first, China, and then the second is Japan. The majority of the manufacturers are the several ones that I've mentioned, and sometimes there are joint ventures. For example, Kylie and our company, we also have a program of cooperation. I've heard the news that for every 2 air conditioners used in US, 1 comes from China. Maybe the figure can be even higher. What about price per unit? For example, this one, or that standing model, that is sold at around 30,000 RMB. So for different models, always a differentiation of the prices, but all of them are very popular. So to one extent, you can also have a sense of the purchasing power of Chinese consumers. Yes, of course, and we also have different kinds of requirements from the customers, and we are doing the targeting manufacturing for them so that we can better meet their demands. And consumers, do they have a very high awareness of the protection of environment and energy efficiency, etc.? I believe that they are recognizing the importance of the environmental protection today. For example, with the Ali company, they have relevant programs raising people's awareness. In the past, when you look at the market, the highest level of energy efficiency cannot cover all the products, but today, this level 1 energy efficiency products are occupying the majority of the market share. And for the level 1 and level 2 energy efficiency products are referred to as energy saving products. You're also a MPC member. You're about to propose your advisors to set a unified standard for the life cycle of the air conditioners. Why is that? Because at the very beginning of our talk, we have already recognized the different parts inside the air conditioners. So first of all, we have to do a very precise calculation of the carbon emissions involved at different levels of the manufacturing. And we should have this checklist for the iron, plastic, for the copper, as well as for the aluminum, etc., for which part we have what amount of the energy consumption and the level of the emissions of the carbon, so that we have a clearer mind about the roads that we will take and also the work we're about to accomplish in the future. We hope that at national level we could set up this database for carbon. It can facilitate our accomplishment of the 2 carbon goals, and with the unified standard and with the same criteria in place, it can also better guide our work. Thank you so much, Mr. Li, for striving for this building up of criteria.
这样的话，这个一个跟国际接轨，第二个事情呢也方便，我们国内的各种各行各业统一的行动，有个统一一个衡量的标准。
好，那谢谢李主任，就是为我们这个达到国家的这个双碳标准，打好这个技术攻坚战。 So that's about the end of our live stream today. We showed you various technological advances in sort of in helping us reduce carbon emissions from Singapore and from here in southern China. I hope you learned just as much as I have. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in our next live stream.
Thank you.